a couple 4K Blu-rays that I own that are, for whatever reason, extremely loud when they're spinning.
Yeah.
In my 4K Blu-ray player. So I would like to put those particular ones on a streamer so that it's just, I don't have to hear that stupid loud noise anymore.
Right.
Ironically, one of my noisiest discs is A Quiet Place. I don't know why, but man, it makes a lot of noise when it spins, which is, pretty sad because A Quiet Place, you got to have a quiet room to really experience it like how it's supposed to be experienced. So, yeah, I gotta get a streamer so I can watch A Quiet Place.
What do you got, a Sony?
LG, UBK90.
Get fingerprints on it? No? Well,
no, I don't think so.
I guess that would be a positive case for something like a Zappiti or a Kaleidescape. Shane, your videos on Zappiti were big reasons I bought the Zappiti reference player and, of course, my Kaleidescape. So the state of Zappiti right now, I remember that NOS that they had, the Ripper, that came out like 2 years ago, whatever. I did a review. It's on the channel. It's now been replaced. There's like a newer model. I don't know if you can buy that elsewhere or not, but it looks a lot cooler. But I know they stopped selling that player in the US because of copyright laws. Because you're not supposed to put it, like it would just like rip automatically for you. And I guess you're not really supposed to sell something like that. So I guess that's why that is not sold in the US anymore. But you could buy it elsewhere. Or if you knew people, like dealers that would still have stock, you could buy them from those dealers. But it wasn't like sold on their US site. So, but that disc is a good case for, media players and the Kaleidescape in general, because, or like an Apple TV, that, if you have these discs or if you have a noisy player and it's in your room, it's not in an adjacent room or in a cabinet or something like that, that you could be like a noisy experience for you to, having some disc playback, or just maybe your disc player is just noisy in general. Who knows? Maybe it's quieter in a different player. So that's definitely a case for media players. And
yes, correct.
Of course, there's always the route of I know my channel has a bunch of pirates out there, so there's always that.
Correct. If anything is pirated though, because like we're connected to my brother-in-law's Plex server.
Yeah.
Because he's the software engineer who works in San Francisco, so he's all about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's just not that great. The audio quality is not that great. The video quality is not that great. Also, I have to stream it, and sometimes our internet connection is not that great. So, yeah. Obviously, I prefer physical media, or if it is on a streamer, I prefer to have it, like a bit perfect version that is not lost any quality during that transfer. So,
yeah, I know people love like Plex and all that too. Like they'll stream their rips or whatever. Like they'll rip and then it goes to Plex, and I think Plex transcodes it or whatever over your network. It seems like a lot of work just for like That's why I've never made videos on that. So it's like, dude, I gotta rip a movie, then I gotta like transcode it or whatever. Then I gotta set up my Plex server, and then like I don't know if you've ever done that, but I've never. Like I stopped doing that like years ago, like years ago. Mm-hmm. Now it's just like, and that's a case for like the Kaleidescape at least, where it's like you get movies a couple of months, sometimes, a few weeks, if not a couple months at times before the digital stream, and then the digital stream comes out for like a good month, and then the physical media might come out a month later, and then for the big movies like Mission Impossible or something like that, or Top Gun, I think it was like 4 months later when you got the disc. So I mean that's a case for the Kaleidescape, and then of course if you want to like rip your stuff with the Zappiti and the Zidu, it's a convenience thing. I mean I use my Zappiti more than I use my Kaleidescape, because if I'm just looking at demos and stuff, I have most of the demos on my Zappiti because I've already had them and I don't want to rebuy them on the Kaleidescape unless it's on sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's always the thing too. Like people that want to get a Kaleidescape, they're always like, man, I gotta rebuy all my movies, blah 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 blah. I mean, if you got 1,200 movies, you're probably not gonna buy all 1,200 again. Like get
No
your
way.
favorites, you know, get your top 10 or whatever, and then
Right.
just buy the new releases. But I wouldn't buy my entire library again, unless you're just rich.
No way.
Then that's fine.
I know. If you have more money than you know what to do with, then sure. Go ahead and do that. Otherwise.
Reggie, Plex compared to Zappiti is like comparing Kaleidescape to a Roku streamer. Reggie, don't let anybody tell you that, hear that, because they're going to attack you if you put down Plex. But that's, I still have the Zappiti reference player, like their flagship reference player. I think I've had it for like 6 months. So then,
have you ever dealt with Zappiti? For the most part, they do the same thing, correct? Competitors.
Yeah, like different UI, and I even think like the Zappiti might even be a little bit snappier than Zappiti, because Zappiti can get a little bogged down. Like I don't know if anybody owns a Zappiti, but it can get a little janky sometimes, a little slow to scroll. Whereas the Zappiti is actually a little bit more fluid when scrolling through the menus, which, you know, from a usability standpoint, definitely makes the experience a little bit better.
Yeah, I can't stand lag when I'm going through menus. My wife just wanted one of those Samsung frames. Yeah, it can get a bit laggy. So
yeah, I think
really
all of them get laggy. I mean, every TV I've ever used has been after you first set it up for like the first couple of weeks. Then it's just like you try to scroll through it and it just sucks. It's always laggy. But yeah, I always say recommend get like a Roku or a Android box or something rather than using the TV's built-in apps, because it's always so janky. Always a jank fest.
Yeah. That Apple TV 4K that I have, I mean, they just make a good product. It's super smooth. It almost never lags, and
yeah, I don't think mine's ever lagged.
For whatever reason, I don't know if it's because of a placebo effect, but it just seems like everything that comes out of the Apple TV looks a little bit more crisp, and the sound is just a little bit better. I don't know. Could just be my brain.
No, plus I think it's like, plus every time like an app has an update, like a new feature or something like that, it typically comes Apple first, because you always want to make Apple happy. So there's like a new feature. Maybe DTS is coming out on one of these apps. Chances are Apple's going to get it first over Android. I mean, what does Android really have? They have like the Shield, I think, and that thing hasn't been updated in a few years now.
Yeah.
That's our thoughts on media players and the Kaleidescape and Apple TV. And Plex.
Actually, speaking of Kaleidescape, what are your thoughts on the fact that they now have solid state drives, or will, whenever that is available?
Yeah, well, I mean, they are super expensive. That's no surprise there. Mine, I still have the Strato S, which is a couple of years old, and it takes about, I think it took me like maybe an hour, 40 minutes to download Avatar. But it's like, usually I'll pre-order the movies, and then by the time it's released, it's already downloaded. So I've never been into a situation where I was just like, I gotta watch this movie right now. I need it to download in 5 minutes. So I mean, that whole speed thing for me doesn't really matter, because I don't know why I would need that. Like if I'm gonna watch a movie, I just kind of plan it ahead, or chances are I've already got it. But it's 5 minutes download a movie doesn't really mean anything to me. Well, I guess that's cool.
That depends on your internet speed, though, too, right?
Yeah. Like you gotta have at least a 1 gig, I think, or better.
Yeah, exactly.
Cause I know in some of the forums they're saying they've downloaded movies in like 2 minutes. Like Blu-rays, they can download them in a few seconds, which is pretty nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think you can download torrents that fast. You pirates, are trying
right.
But I mean, it's a good option. I mean, if you got the money, it's a good option for sure. I think.
I mean, I prefer solid state because
Yeah.
that thing is actually spinning, so it's going to last longer and it's more durable. So I get that.
I'll tell you what, I've had a 1.5 terabyte Seagate for about 20. My daughter's gonna be 20 years. Longer than 20 years. 1.5 terabyte, which I kept all the Bond movies on, and it's always plugged in. It hasn't died yet. But that's been going for 20 plus years right now. So I mean, I guess the stuff back then was really good. And then at the same time, Seagate sent me 2 terabyte hard drives when I was going to review the Zappiti player. And then both of them died like a week later. Shane, the word Kaleidescape is going to be like Voldemort, the product that shall not be named. I have actually another review on the Kaleidescape, but it's it's just a comparison that I think when I first did the review, I think it was 3 years ago now, I did the original Kaleidescape review, and I think I compared, Mad Max and like Lucy and a couple other movies. I think the only main difference was like the compression that they're using from the disc. Like some of the compression looked a little bit better on the disc, some of it looked a little bit better on the Kaleidescape. But now there have been bigger movies that have come out, like Endgame, and then like Avatar, and then I think something recently just came out too. I think it was maybe Indiana Jones. I think is bigger. I think will probably be bigger than the disc. So there's more content to compare. In contrast between the 66 gig version compared to the 100 and like 20 gig version on the Kaleidescape, which it is easier. Like on a bigger screen, it's easy to see the difference with a higher, less compression. It's just cleaner, it's sharper, lines are, diagonals are crisper, they're less jaggy, just everything's just tighter looking. And at least on Endgame, when I first saw that, I was like, it's not gonna be a big difference. I was like, that's what a good quality file looks like. Wow. I was like, okay. I don't think people with a 65-inch TV is gonna notice it. Maybe a 75-inch might be kind of hard to tell too, but I think the larger you go up, maybe 85 and above, probably gonna make the biggest difference.